Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Welcome to the Think Factory's Workplace Podcast, powered by OGC Solutions, the podcast where we explore the ever-evolving landscape of workplace dynamics. My name is Alka Bahal. I'm a partner with Outside General Counsel Solutions and the chair of our Corporate Immigration Services Group, and I'll be your host today. I am very pleased to have with me here Darryl Stratton, Director of Human Resources for Alpine Ocean Seismic Survey. Welcome to the podcast, Darryl.
Thank you, Alka. Thanks for the invite.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Darryl is a skilled HR professional with experience in a wide range of industries, from building materials to pharma to maritime. Darryl, tell us a little bit about your career path and what led you to your current role.
Sure. Actually, I stumbled upon HR after graduating from college with a degree in English. I decided to actually go into the military, United States Army soldier enlisted. And I really got introduced to personnel management back in the 80s. It's been that long ago. And took it on as a secondary military occupational specialty. I initially was involved with logistics in the military, but once I transitioned over to personnel management, I really started to appreciate the work that really HR did for individuals. And I really stuck with that. And when I got out of the military, I continued to pursue it as a private citizen and started working for the Department of Transportation in Dallas as a generalist, and just kind of poked it from there. Ended up becoming the director to replace my boss, and then transitioned over into the private sector. And it just kept going on from there, and worked in various industries and really started to enjoy the work as an HR professional as a result.
And you've accumulated a great deal of experience under your belt in that process. Did you find it was different handling? I mean, times have obviously changed, but was it different handling HR in the military environment versus civilian?
I think it was different because it was more regulated in the military. So you had to follow specific rules and regulations with very little opportunity to deviate. So it made it a little bit more structured, if you will. That in the private sector, you have more of an opportunity to really look at various options that you can exercise prior to making particular decisions. In the military, it's pretty black and white. So, yeah, different from that perspective.
So you get to be a lot more creative now, right?
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit about your current role and about Alpine.
Yeah, so Alpine Ocean is a very interesting organization. It's a privately owned company. The father started the business back in the early 60s, and then he transitioned it over to his son. And so it's been around a long time, but the industry itself is somewhat unique. I stumbled upon it when I was looking for my next role after being involved in vertical farming for a little while. And Alpine Ocean provides seismic surveys, environmental services. They do a lot of analytics, scientific type information provided to customers for customers who want to do work offshore. For an example, if we had a customer that wanted to put fiber optic cables on the ocean floor, they would contact us for us to provide them with the analytics to determine whether or not it will be viable for them to do so. But my role here is the HR director in charge of not only the U.S. operation, but you also have a small operation over in Bologna, Italy, and working with the vessel crew for our small, medium-sized vessels that we have strategically located throughout the United States and the world where we do work. I actually oversee the HR department, payroll, benefits, compensation, training and development, the whole gamut, and report directly to the president. A very small employment group. The maximum employees we've had since I've been here in August of 23 is upwards of 60 plus. And unfortunately, we just went through a reduction in force due to a significant downgrade in our energy since the Trump administration came into play. And so I'm just coming off of that 50% reduction of the workforce and trying to work with the leadership team to determine, how we're going to keep the company viable going forward, focusing probably now for the most part in trying to expand our operation in Europe because a lot of the wind energy sector has started to dwindle in the U.S.
Yeah, I can understand that. And do you work geographically in specific areas, or do you literally cover anywhere in the ocean that needs a survey?
Yeah, so wherever we have a project is where we'll actually do the work. It could be somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean, Pacific. It could be in Europe. We did a major project in Spain over the last spring and to the summer. So it's just wherever we find the work and get the contracts with the various companies to actually perform the work.
Very interesting. And you have a lot of, well, I won't say a lot, but you depend probably on some highly skilled personnel. How do you staff? How do you recruit those folks, whether it's an operation in the U.S. or internationally?
Yeah, so actually, it's not really simple. We do require specific skill sets in a lot of our jobs. We hire, geophysicists, geoscientists, field scientists, hydrographers, oceanographers, and so those individuals are not easy to find. So we have a diversified approach in trying to attract the talent that we need. I use contingent recruitment agencies, as well as certain websites like ZipRecruiter or Indeed. We do a in-house referral program where we provide a bonus to employees that refer their friends and colleagues that may have this necessary skill set to perform the essential functions of various roles that we have. But we spend a lot of money in external recruiting because it's really important to work with a recruitment team that understands our industry and has the ability to find candidates that meet our requirements for the jobs that we have.
Yeah, a very unique industry, very niche. There's not a lot of people in the world, not a lot of organizations that do what you do, right?
Correct.
So, having been in leadership positions for a long time and really experiencing quite the evolution in the workplace, what would you recommend to other leaders, the say 3 to 5 most important traits that you think are essential for effective leadership today?
Yeah. Well, I think one, it's important as a leader that you do have some degree of technical expertise to be able to lead others who have that critical skill set in particular roles. If you've actually, through a career progressive model, come up through an organization into management positions without that technical expertise, it's really difficult for you to be an effective leader because you really need to know to some degree or percentage how to do the direct reports jobs with no expectation that you would be able to do their jobs, but if you don't have the technical awareness and expertise to understand what they do, it's kind of difficult for you to lead them. So that would be number one. I think it's important for recruiters and HR professionals to go out and recruit people that not only have the managerial skill set to be effective, but have some technical expertise to be able to actually supervise and lead others. Secondly, I think it's important that you become the type of leader where you have the ability to become an active listener and really understand what's going on in your organization with your direct reports. And you have to do that by making sure you have, from a performance management perspective, feedback one-on-one sessions with your direct reports on at least a monthly basis so you understand where they are and trying to meet their goal requirements, understanding the training needs that are necessary for them to continue to support the business, and really trying to understand their overall workforce experience and how you can make it better and more value added for them by having that communication chain.
Very interesting. And you worked in really a wide variety of industries. Did you find each time you entered a new industry, you had to spend a lot of time learning some of the technical aspects of it?
Yeah, I think it's important, even in HR, for you to really understand how the business operates. So, one of the first things I do when I go into an HR role is make sure I spend a lot of time one on one with all of the key stakeholders, all of the management personnel to really understand. How the business works and educate myself as much as possible on how I can use my HR skill set and make sure I'm helping the business to be able to achieve the success they want through some targeted hiring, understanding the training that's required for individuals to be able to be effective in their roles. So I think it's important for HR professionals to make sure they understand the business dynamics and educate themselves on how the business operates as much as possible before they can feel like they're going to truly be effective in their role.
That's really important insight.
Mhm.
So certainly different leaders have different leadership styles. How do you view leadership styles as influencing workplace dynamics? And do you think that leaders need to adapt their approach to different teams or situations, or do we encourage teams to adapt to our approach?
Yeah, I think it's important for you to be a good observer of how people function and think. Um, I try to meet people where they are. And in order to do that, you have to spend a lot of time understanding, how they think, how they've done things in the past, and then determine based on where you're trying to go as an organization, what tweaks you need to make, changes you need to make to that leadership style that really supports what you're trying to achieve long term. So it's really understanding what those gaps are in the interim to be able to determine the process you're going to engage in to actually being able to close those gaps going forward.
Mhm. And what do you say is the most important lesson you've learned as a leader?
Um, wow. I guess I would say for me, it's really being able to spend a lot of time listening more than talking. A lot of times when I'm in these business meetings, I'm very quiet and very observant as to what's going on and trying to let other people in the meeting to really share their ideas and concerns and take all that in and then determine from my role how I can really add value and only speak to the situations that I think, based on my observations and really understanding of how I can really interject and add to what's being said that will really make a difference going forward.
Yeah, I really see that viewpoint very well. A lot of leaders don't think about listening as a key tool. That's true. It's very important. What would you say are some key elements that contribute to a positive workplace culture?
Hmm. Well, I think you really have to have your ear to the ground, so to speak, to really understand what's going on in your organization. I know a lot of companies believe in engaging in these annual survey models where they will do an annual survey through some type of questioning methodology. And then they will sit back as a leadership team and it'll develop all of these action items. And really, at the end of the day, it sits on the shelf and there's not much action that really unfolds in that event. My approach is really different where I think it's important for, at least at the senior level, in conjunction with HR, for you to meet with a cross-departmental group of employees on some type of regular itinerary, maybe monthly, and really talk about, what the company is doing well, what they're not doing so well, and get feedback from the employees on some of the things that they think you should be focused on differently. I think you get quick wins that way. You can determine from those types of meetings what things you can really implement quickly to get some wins and communicate back to the employee base and prove that you are listening to the feedback by actually implementing some of the ideas that come forth. And to me, that approach works a whole lot more effective than doing these annual surveys and collecting all this data and really not doing very much with it.
It kind of becomes a mountain of information that becomes impossible to get through sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
How would you describe the culture in your workplace, and what role do you believe it plays in employee satisfaction?
Yes. Well, I think we have a very family oriented culture here. Like I said, it's a privately owned business. And so, being a privately owned business, it kind of came to be that, people felt like they were part of the family and part of the ownership, even though they didn't have stock in the company because of its size. And so we do things that are a little bit, I think, unique in trying to come together on some kind of regular basis and actually celebrate small wins that are going on within the business, making sure that we give people an opportunity to have input into our quarterly newsletter. We usually will highlight a certain employee during that time period. We try to spend time celebrating different types of life events. If someone, has a baby or gets married, we try to celebrate those things, birthdays, anniversaries. And, if there's some type of major achievement within your department, we try to highlight those things as well. And then just come together on some kind of regular basis for no good reason at all, just to really check the temperature of the organization and do small types of celebrations and really show the appreciation for the efforts that everyone's put forth on a regular basis and helping to really support the business.
Interesting. Now, I know you have some unique sort of approach to how you ensure employee engagement and the way that you do your training and your onboarding. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think it's important that you really have a very comprehensive employee orientation program for new hires. So what I did is I worked with the team to really put together a 5-day new hire orientation program here, where each department was responsible for putting together a comprehensive PowerPoint presentation about the work that their department does and how that work really impacts business dynamics, and particularly the role that the individuals that we are hiring are going to play in assisting the business to be successful. And I've received a lot of positive feedback. I usually sit with all new hires at the end of that process and gather feedback. And I've received a lot of positive feedback on how well that program works for them and how easy it was for them to really assimilate into their new role and really become a part of the company. So I think that type of approach is very effective. How you start with a new hire goes a long way, and how effective, in my opinion, they're going to be as an employee long term.
That's a very interesting approach. Not a lot of companies would sort of take that time and effort up front, but I can see how that makes a lot of sense. So in the workforce, we're embarking, I really think, for the first time in an environment where we have a span of 5 different generations working at the same time. How does this affect workplace dynamics? And do you find that you've had to adapt any strategies to accommodate this? Clearly, we've got different communication styles, we've got different viewpoints. How do you bring all the employees sort of on the same page?
Yes, I think the approach that we use here in gathering a cross-departmental group of employees every month to sit down with the president and myself to really talk about how we're doing as an organization, to really collect feedback from employees in various areas of the company to really let us know, what they're experiencing as an employee and what we're doing well and what we're not doing well and some of the things that they would like to see us do differently. By doing so, you bring together those different generations and you get different types of feedback and information on what really works for them. And it's really becoming that leader that says, look, I hear you, I understand what you're saying, and being very honest and upfront about the kinds of things that we can respond to positively, and then being honest and straightforward about the things we're not going to do, and then explaining the why. And I think if you do that, you will always know how well you are doing from an employee engagement perspective by always having that communication back and forth with management and really recognizing where the hot buttons are for things that you need to pause and really focus on in a way that's going to benefit the business going forward as a result of that feedback.
And that authenticity must build trust, it builds confidence, creates an environment where hopefully employees are willing to make those suggestions and tell you what they think or feel.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. What are some unique aspects of your company culture that you're proud of? I know you have a couple of interesting features there.
Um, I don't know. I think we do these potlucks for these major types of holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, and if we again have some type of major milestone that we've met where we come together. Also in the summertime, it's hot. You want to try to get people outside and moving around as much as possible. So I might invite in an ice cream truck and give people ice cream. Sometimes we will pause and have a pizza lunch, or we go out for happy hour. We try to really mix it up and take the opportunity to really bring the workforce together where they're not necessarily focused on work, but have an opportunity to interact with each other in a very safe and relaxed environment. So that's really played very well for us. Also, for every new hire that we bring on board, we require the department manager to take them out to lunch at the end of their orientation process. Again, as another way to really help them assimilate and get to know their department and the employees that they work with.
Oh, that's a great idea. I like that. So without getting into the politics of it, how do we ensure inclusivity and diversity continue to be addressed in our workforce?
Yeah, I think for me, if you are looking at it from a recruitment perspective first, it's important to make sure that you are reaching out to various organizations and schools that have already a very diverse applicant pool there for you to take advantage of. And it's in that outreach, I believe it's important for recruiters and HR professionals when they have jobs to really focus on trying to present to the hiring manager a diverse applicant pool. And if you focus on presenting a diverse applicant pool, it's always been my belief that the cream will always rise to the top. You really don't have to do anything special. You just have to make sure that you have given everyone an opportunity to at least compete. And so that's always been my approach, and it's worked very effectively in really trying to improve the DEI within the organization. And then once you get them on board, I think it's important to make sure that you look at your training program and that you provide the same training opportunities for everyone, and looking at the skill gaps that people have and developing some type of budget where you can really focus on closing those gaps and making sure you're doing it in such a way that's going to benefit the company, because their skill sets are going to be improved and they'll be able to add more value to what needs to be done from their particular roles that they play.
I think those are some really important points. Thank you. Like, you really have to meet people where they are, as you said. I think that's a really key factor in bringing in some diversity of thought in people. And I know you have some really robust training programs. I think that's just amazing. I know you do a lot of it yourself.
Mhm. Yeah, from a soft skills perspective, I think it's important that, again, companies focus on hiring HR professionals that have a very diverse skill set. And training and development is an area that I really do now gravitate towards myself. Is from a soft skills perspective, I think it's important for HR professionals to be able to develop different types of soft skill training that they can deliver to their workforce at every level. I know a lot of companies focus on using consultants for this purpose. I don't. There are times and there are situations where that is appropriate, but the more you can take advantage of that internally using your internal expertise, the better, because now you're there every day. You understand how effective this training is and what kind of follow-up you need to do by collecting that ongoing feedback to determine what their training needs are and how you can apply the skill set you have to develop that training to make sure that they get it.
That's really amazing. What do you see in the future for your industry, say for the rest of 2025 and then beyond? I know it's a tough time at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely very difficult time for our industry at this moment. Wind energy, because of the new administration, has pretty much almost dried up in the United States. There's still pockets of opportunities, but they're very limited. So our position now will be to focus on Europe and other international areas of interest to try to grow our business. And so that's where we plan to spend our time and efforts. And hopefully that ends up playing very well for us in the rest of the year and into the future.
And tell me a little bit about your clients. Who would be looking for you? What types of projects are you supporting?
So it would be wind energy products. The windmills that you see, the big fans out in different areas. We definitely are involved a lot in that, which is, like I say, drying up in the U.S. Any type of offshore work where companies are looking to do things on the ocean floor, where we can provide them with scientific analysis on whether or not utilizing our specialized equipment, that they can determine that it's a good idea for them to work in a particular area to do that type of work. Utilities work, working with even some government entities like the engineering, Department of Engineering, and other government agencies, even utilities like PSE&G. So it's a vast opportunities available. They're just not as available in the U.S. as they seem to be in Europe at the moment.
Understood. Very interesting work that your folks do. So where can people learn more about you and about the company?
Well, for me, you can obviously look at my profile on LinkedIn. And for the company, you can obviously go to our website, Alpine Ocean Seismic Survey, and learn about the work that we do. That's pretty much the two basic places you can go to learn about myself and learn about the company.
Terrific. So I have one last question for you before I let you go, which is something I did not prepare you for. And it's our traditional wrap-up question on the Think Factory podcast. And that is, what keeps you up at night?
Wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. For me, I've always been a people person. And the approach that I take to HR is simple. If you have a problem, once I know that that's a problem for you and you share it with me, it becomes, in my opinion, my problem. And I don't like having problems. So that means I'm going to be working very hard trying to solve it so I can move on to the next thing. So what keeps me up is really when I get issues that are brought to my attention, trying to focus on how long it's going to take me to get to some type of positive solution. And so I will stay up late nights really thinking through, how I'm going to approach this investigation, how I'm going to address this business concern, this people concern that's been brought to my attention, and try to get it resolved in a very timely and professional manner. Because that's what's really important to people. When they come to you with a concern, they want to feel confident that you're going to take it serious and own it and get it resolved as quickly as possible. So transactional credibility is very important for me in my role. And so, that news travels fast, that when you come to Darryl with a people related issue, he's going to address it professionally and quickly and get it resolved in the right way. And that's what's important to me. And that's what keeps me up at night, my ability to make sure I can do that on a consistent basis.
And I'm sure that is a key factor to your success. I mean, from my perspective, your human first approach and then interweaving that in with the business needs is you're incredibly talented at that. And I think that's really one of the things that sets you apart. Very impressive.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone. This has been Alka Bahal with Darryl Stratton on the Workplace Podcast, signing off. Until next time, thanks for joining us.